himself on the so-called Fiori Launchpad, and he finds the button with the question mark in the upper right toolbar. So this is the point where he tries to get help. And indeed, when clicking on the question mark, the so-called web assistant or the overlay help shows up. Now Jim has different options. He can click on so-called hotspots to get some more explanations on screen elements and interactive elements. And a little box appears with a short explanation of what this particular element is good for. He can close it again, and at the same time we have a connection to the corresponding explanation and navigation in the so-called carousel at the bottom, and it's connected with kind of laser beam to the element on the screen. But we have as well boxes without a corresponding screen element, and these boxes just contain general short explanations of functionalities. But Jim now wants to really learn from the basics, and therefore he finds another tile here called Learning. And when clicking on this one, a dialog box opens up and shows the recommended learnings. As we are on the basic level on the SAP Fiori Launchpad, the recommended learnings are the Getting Started tutorials. So we have two packages here working with the Launchpad and working with apps. As Jim wants to learn the basics, he starts working with the Launchpad to understand what functionalities are available on the Fiori Launchpad. After the tutorial has loaded, two single tutorials appear. The SAP Fiori Launchpad that really explains how to work with the Launchpad and how to use the surface, and the duration is very short, only 5 minutes. Same here, a very short tutorial personalizing the SAP Fiori Launchpad. And Jim wants to start with the SAP Fiori Launchpad, and we see that we have 3 different modes. The first one is just a play button to start the interactive demo tutorial. The second one is a try it yourself mode to practice. And the third one is a PDF printout with a step-by-step guide included. Jim just wants to start the tutorial, clicks on the play button, and now the tutorial is loaded. Now, when starting, the tutorial always follows the same pattern that we find again in all other tutorials as well. We have these little bubbles or boxes giving basic information and explanation of what to do and what actions are good for. So when clicking on the next button, we can see that we have further explanations, and then according to some areas on the screen, we have a gray highlight box that gives the relation to the explanation in this little box. The box can be freely arranged on the screen to make some space to see hidden objects. Jim can also navigate with the navigation bar buttons, and he can click through the tutorial at his own pace. So we see that there are different explanations of different screen elements. And if we continue, we see as well that there are green highlighted borders, and those indicate always that there is an interaction possible. This means when I click here, the system behaves somehow like a real system. We have opened up the Me area, the so-called Me area now, and it really behaves like a system. We will see later that there are also entry fields that are interactive, so it's a mixture of a guided demo and a tutorial video. So let's just assume Jim is now ready with the first tutorial and just jumping to the end. We can see Jim is done now with that tutorial and closes it again. And he could now practice what he has just learned. Therefore, we switch to the try it yourself mode. And once this opens up, we can see that there are no more familiar boxes as we have seen them before. There is only one overlay window that gives us our tasks. So first we shall display the me area and close it again. And let's just do this. And we see that we get a short confirmation and the me area opens up, and we close it again and we get the confirmation as well, and it closes up again. Now we can as well just click somewhere in the wrong way, and we see that we get different options to try again, go to the next step, or that we will get some guidance. So now Jim is done with that as well, and he feels quite confident with the basics of the Fiori Launchpad. Now we have a second Getting Started tutorial package working with apps. Opening this one shows that we will have here the opportunity to learn the basics about the different elements we find on the screen and the patterns of different apps that appear all over again in S/4HANA. So here we can see, for example, how to get help using the Learning Center, using the SAP Copilot, or using the search functions, all very short and focused. And we have always, for Getting Started tutorials, these three modalities. And we see the different app patterns, transactional apps, object page apps, and analytical apps. And for example, Jim now could go into learning how transactional apps work. And therefore, this course is loaded again. And clicking on the play button just starts, and you see it follows the same pattern as we have seen before. We have the boxes and with the green border indicator, interactive elements, and we can see what happens when we interact with the system. And in the explanation boxes, we always get the further information that explains what we are doing and why we are doing it. Okay. Now, Jim feels quite confident to do the first productive tasks in the system. So he closes the web assistant again. And in the second demo, we will see how he can start with some work.